Welcome, Rejects, to another episode of the Full Send Rejects. Today we have another interview episode where we talk to Kate Mock, the mother of a recently deceased Hunter Mock. If you are familiar and you listened to our previous interview episodes, you know this is a tough subject to talk about, but we thank her for coming. She also had a friend, Caitlin, whose daughter, who I'm not going to name here because I believe they didn't want me to, or want her to be named. She was best friends with Hunter. Hunter was a 18-year-old who was a victim of a shooting murder to be specific. Our thoughts go out to his family and friends. You will learn that he touched many lives, a truly, truly beautiful soul. There are parts during this where our phones kind of just hung up for some reason. So we apologize for that. Hopefully it does not take away from this episode. There are other parts too where it kind of cut out for a second, but hopefully we can chug along. And we thank you for listening. Anyway, here is Kate and her friend Caitlin. Yep, that's working. Okay, so we are here with... sorry, I'm looking through all my notes, make sure everything here right. We're here with Kate Mock, the mother of Hunter Mock, who was tragically murdered in New Philadelphia. He was 18, correct?
Yes.
18, okay. We're also joined by her friend Caitlin, whose daughter was best friends with him for about 4 years, ever since they moved in. For anyone who listened to the episode where we talked about the missing peoples on Shar Mountain, New Philadelphia is kind of smack dab between Tamaqua and Pottsville, where these 3 missing peoples and more went missing. So today, Kate, you are on here, and we thank you for coming to talk about your son.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. If you would like to go ahead and discuss what happened and talk about him, the floor is yours.
My son Hunter, on the 8th of October, went for a ride with a friend. With him getting in a vehicle with his other good friend, Angelito Caravello, who was 16 years old at the time. The 2 of them went with a boy named Lamar that was supposed to be picking him up. They were going out to shoot the guns together out in the woods in a place that they called Sanchez, which was a local hangout, campfires, swimming hole for the local teenagers. Later we come to know that there was another person in that vehicle named Jalik Sherwood, and he goes by the nickname on the streets, No Face. That was not mentioned in any of the conversations that my son or Angelito said before they left. To anyone's knowledge, he was only supposed to be getting in the car with Lamar. They left their home at 10:30 at night on October 8th. Approximately 11:45, Jalik, also known as No Face, showed up in the house saying that he and his friends were being shot at and that he needed help. When he showed up at that house, he had clothes, no shoes, no shirt. He threw his cell phone. At that time, it was only an hour after my son and Angelito had gotten into that vehicle.
Now, did he show up to your house?
No, he showed up to a house.
Oh, okay.
He local to the swimming hole that my son was found in.
Okay.
He stated in his statement that my son, Angel, Lamar, and himself were hanging out, drinking, and partying like they were best friends. And that supposedly Lamar pulled my son's gun out of his waistband and started shooting. At that time, he said he ran for his own life. I will say, the coroner's autopsy stated my son had no alcohol in his system. He was not partying with anyone that night. And so when Lamar was apprehended later on that evening, he was found with my son's magazine and my son's knife in his residence. He said that it was pretty much the opposite, that Sherwood grabbed the gun and shot my son in the head and then told him to get the other boy, Angel. When he tried to shoot Angel, Lamar tried to shoot Angel under direction of Sherwood. He said the gun jammed. At that time, he states that Sherwood and Angel got into an altercation, and Lamar says that's when he took off. As far as I'm concerned, it definitely was more than one of them. And the way that my son was taken, very cowardly.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
But, I had been told after 24 hours that my son was missing. It was all over Facebook. I'm not into Facebook. I'm not a big fan of it. Or any kind of social media. I was told approximately 24 to 27 hours after my son had already been missing. My son, being that he was 18 and lived in an apartment with a girl named Haley, who introduced my son to all these people. I didn't see my son every day, so it was normal for me not to see him for 24 hours. I had talked to him on the 8th, and around 4 o'clock in the evening. So only 5 hours after that is when he was supposedly, it's when he took his last walk out of his apartment. And it's honestly, I still can't wrap my head around that day. Because when the police were told by Sherwood, when he came to that house outside of the pond, asking for help and saying that his friends were being shot at in the woods, he went out there and looked for 10 minutes, felt that they were lost, and turned around and walked away.
So the police officer, he didn't really help that
State
much.
Police, yes. They looked for 10 minutes. They didn't call the locals. They didn't call the local rescue or search or the parents. You know, we had already put in the missing report ad with them.
Now, was this a local police officer, or was this like a state officer?
It was the state police barracks in Frackville.
Okay. So I know in a lot of those areas, it's small towns, it's the stateies usually have to respond.
Yes. But like I said, when they were lost out in those woods, because they're not from here, in my personal opinion, anybody that is in something that serious and you're looking for somebody that might be able to save their lives, you don't be too big for your britches and you call for help.
Right.
And nobody did it. The police did not show up at my house to tell me that my son was missing or found. It was actually the other mother, Tanya Evans, the mother of Angelito, who showed up to my house to let me know that my son was found. He was not found by the police. He was found by friends of my son who were instructed by Haley Califf, the girl that my son lived with, to go back because they're there. She was at that time in the hospital by Sherwood, who was getting treated for hypothermia. And every time that anybody called her to ask, where are they? How do you know that they're there? She just kept telling them to go back to the same spot. And eventually one of the girls that had swam there and hung out there with my son knew the general idea of where they would have been. And that's the girl that was able to find him. Which wasn't until the 10th. So our boys were out there for a day and a half in the freezing cold. And that's why our time of death only be marked as when they were found.
So when they did the autopsy, they didn't try and find like a specific time frame when they deceased, or it was
not.
Wow.
My son, when he was shot, his head actually landed into a very fast-running stream, and it was very cold. So, they said that they wouldn't be able to tell time of death.
In October, it's cold in October. It's especially here in Pennsylvania. It's
yes. So, ever since the only information we've been given by the police is what we've given them. Anytime we ask any questions, are there any updates? We get told we're working diligently. Nothing else. Not we have leads. Not we found anything. Not that we can even unlock my son's phone, which they've had since the day that they found my son. They are not able to unlock my son's phone yet.
So you have yet to even be able into his residence since this happened.
But they've had his phone since when they found him. It was in his pocket. And the police have not been able to figure out the 6-digit PIN to unlock his phone yet. So I really feel that we're not dealing with I'm sorry. I feel that we're not dealing with somebody that really knows what they're doing right now. And it kind of scares me because, this is my son. And I need to know why, what happened.
You need some answers.
And they're telling me all they need to do is unlock it because there should be messages there that would explain what happened.
What kind of phone did he have? Like an iPhone or?
Yes, he had an iPhone, AT&T prepaid. But they have not been able to figure out the 6-digit PIN. I've offered them all of his emails, all of his Facebooks, all of his Instagrams, all of his every kind of social media account that he was on. The day that I opened up my computer for the first time after my son had passed, when it opened, it popped up with 2 side windows. One that said my son's name, and the next window was accounts and passwords. And when I hit it, it synced everything to my phone. So for the last 2 months, I've been nonstop looking through past messages, driving myself crazy, But I've given everything over to the police as many times as I can. And when I asked if they even contacted those people that told me that they knew what happened that night, they said that they didn't have their phone numbers.
Have you tried going to AT&T themselves and seeing if they could unlock the phone or restart it or anything like that?
No, I don't have the phone.
Oh, that's right, the police have it.
The police already said that they sent it away to some place that's supposed to be able to crack it open. So I've asked, over and over, is there anything else I can do to help? I just been told that I've put hindrance to the investigation when I sent forward death threats that were sent to me, my family, and to Angel's family. We forwarded that to the police. It was supposedly from Lamar's family, threatening to show us how to get to see our sons. And we were told that we were entering the investigation and that they needed to focus on more important things than death threats.
So this other family's threatening y'all, and the police are just that they don't want to do anything.
No. The night of the funeral, outside my yard, somebody shot at my house. I don't know if they were trying to shoot me or not. I mean, it definitely looked like it since the flashlight was aimed right at me, but thankfully they don't know how to shoot because I'm still here.
Well, we're glad you're here. I think we can say that for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't. Honestly, I think I just want to correct a little bit when that happened. It was right after my son's funeral. Over 1,000 people had showed up to send their condolences to the two boys. We had both the boys together in a service with open casket, which was extremely hard, not for just me, but for the whole community. But it was something that I needed to do. I needed to let the people that took my son away from me know that no matter what, my son's light will never go out. And what they did to him should enrage the community, and which I've noticed it has. My son was known at the local basketball court for being big brother to pretty much everything in this town. For the children that didn't have a father, he gave out tackle boxes, teaching them how to play basketball. We'd go fishing with the kids. If you heard somebody getting bullied at the playground, he'd go over and stop it, which is all stems from his baby brother, Jacob. Jacob is 10 years old, and he's on the spectrum of autism. He has a real hard time with meeting new people and making friends. He didn't feel like he fit in. And so his brother and friends made Jacob part of their group and took him to the playground to make friends. And that's when my son noticed there was a lot of kids that didn't feel like they fit in, and he didn't feel like that was right.
He sounds like a really good kid.
Yeah, he was. There's been so many stories, I should say, that have been made up since my son was murdered. And none of those falsehoods came to light because they weren't true. But I will tell you what was true and what really struck a chord is the day of the funeral, how many small children came to that funeral and were handing me little notes. Thank you for walking me home. Thank you for making me feel safe. Thank you for teaching me how to play basketball.
Yeah, so he touched a lot of lives.
Yeah. Yep. And I can only imagine the impact he'd have if he was just not taken. He went out of his way to buy his little brother new school sneakers this year because they glowed in the dark, and decided he had to pay for all of his school clothes to match his new sneakers. My son was called Bro Dad by Jacob on Father's Day every year because Jacob's father is not involved, and neither was Hunter's. So Hunter said I might not have a father figure in the home, but he will. And, it was a joke between the two of us. Anyway, he got a kid before he even was old enough to have fun to make one. He was my best friend. And we fought like best friends.
I think right there that just explains his character, because so many you have kids who don't have parents and they continue that bad cycle. But before he was even mature, it sounds like he just flipped it around and just did the right thing.
He was 8 years old when Jacob was born, and he used to say all the time, "No, Mom, I got it. Leave him alone. He's mine." We would fight over who got to feed him, who got to put him to bed, who got to wake up with him. Hunter would even change diapers. I mean, he loved Jacob with all of his heart.
No, that is precious.
Yeah.
There's no greater bond.
No.
Oh, there isn't.
Hunter went through quite a bit with me. When he was 2 years old, I left his father with him. We went into a shelter, and Hunter's great uncle from the father's side and aunt stepped in and helped me raise my son. Every other weekend, from age of 2 until this last summer, they had him. Uncle Jeff taught him how to go hunting, fishing, hiking, and what it was to be a decent real man. Never to put your hands on a woman. Always respect a woman. Let your mom always know that she's beautiful. And Cindy and Uncle Jeff had such a huge impact on my son. Like I said, that's where he learned how to do the manly stuff, which was an amazing thing for me and Hunter to have happen. Like I said, Uncle Jeff stood up as a father figure in Hunter's life. And without him and Cindy, Hunter wouldn't be the person that he is. Hunter's been shooting guns and collecting knives since he's 6 years old. And as he was being taught how to go hunting and fishing, you would always hear Aunt Cindy in the background yelling, "Safety first, safety first."
Absolutely.
It was drilled so hard into my son's head that I find it extremely unimaginable that someone else would have my son's gun with a clip and bullet in the chamber from my son willingly. My son never even handed me a gun that had a bullet in the chamber, because you don't do that.
One of the first rules with handling weapons: you don't aim at anything. You don't tend to pull a trigger on. You don't hand over a loaded weapon.
Right. And I think I can tell you right now, the situation that was stated, I know my son wouldn't have been able to hand over that gun without hearing his aunt screaming, "Safety first." Like I said, it's been drilled into his head since he's 6 years old. He'd never hand over a loaded gun. So the fact that it's being stated that someone was able to pull my son's gun out of his waistband, I will not believe that. I can't believe that, because I know my son, and I know his autopsy also said no drugs involved, so he wasn't messed up. He wasn't not thinking. My son was a very clear-headed person, especially when it came to weapons and hunting and shooting around other people. What I'm not understanding is we have two different people that both were put at that scene. Both of them are accusing each other of shooting. and yet there's not enough evidence to put anybody in jail. It's very frustrating, and no one's been charged with this. Christmas is around the corner, and then it's Hunter's birthday. December 29th, my son would have been 19.
And that was something I was wondering with these this happening so recently and these holidays coming up. I cannot imagine how tough that is. And then having a birthday right after it.
Yeah. He passed away October 10th. Halloween has always been his little brother, and then Jacob always wanted to have the haunted house. They got to hand out candy for Halloween, and Hunter always wanted to scare his little brother. So it worked out perfectly. And then with Christmas, the last couple of years, Hunter has played Santa Claus. Ate the cookies. Decorated under the tree.
It sounds like they had a real connection.
Yeah. Hunter was supposed to be Jacob's mentor this year. Hunter was going to take Jacob the first year for him to go hunting. And we missed it.
That's a shame.
Jacob and I are still trying to decide if we can even get a Christmas tree. Hunter, at the age of 2, when we lived in Montana, stepped on a baby pine tree, like I'm talking about a sapling, and it knocked over. We put dirt around it, took it inside, and that was our Christmas tree. Every year since he's been 2 years old, he's always had a major part in getting our Christmas tree. And Jacob and I just don't know if we feel comfortable with putting a tree in the house right now, which is really, all my memories of the childhood have always been a Christmas tree, for Christmas. I don't feel like celebrating.
I don't think you can find a person that blame you for not wanting to celebrate.
Usually we're hanging up blow-ups, which was Hunter's least favorite part of any holiday, was the blow-ups. Because he's the one I would chase out there when the wind knocked over and took him halfway down the road. Climb inside and fix the light bulbs. Every single year the blow-ups were his downfall of the holiday. And this year, when I went to take them out, every single one of them over $2,000 in blow-ups, not working, not one.
If you need to take a time or take a moment, you feel free to.
Okay. If you'd like to, Caitlin's here. She can stay for a little bit.
Yeah, we can talk to Caitlin. Let yourself have a moment to yourself so you can do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi.
Hi, Caitlin. From what she said before, your daughter was best friends with him since practically they moved there.
Yeah, they were. I felt like it was more. They were like brother and sister.
Right.
Like he called me mom. You know what I mean? He was a big brother to my other daughter too, and it was so much more than friendship with them too. Like everybody, even in their friend group, joked that they were like friend soulmates, and even my daughter still says it to this day that was her soulmate as a friend.
They just formed that family bond with each other.
And if she wasn't, you know what I mean? Like if she wasn't gay, I swear they would have been together.
Just that special relationship that
yeah, they had that type bond. Like
right.
It was like when something was wrong with Christine, Chris, they all called her Chris, but when there would be something wrong with her, he would message me, Mom, Chris ain't answering me, make her come out of the house. I know she's depressed, or always, or like he would come up to see her, and I'd be out on the porch, and I didn't even have to say anything. He'd just be like, Mom, what's wrong? He knew when I wasn't okay.
He just knew how to read you and figure out what's something's going on.
He had some type of like empathic sense to him almost.
You know, from what his mom was just describing him, just sounds like he was just this really special kid.
He really was. He was meant for so much more, and it's soul crushing that he was taken from us, but I feel like his time here, he spent it very well.
He touched as many lives as he could.
Oh, absolutely. He touched so many lives.
I think that's commendable, especially since, she was saying his father wasn't really in the picture. That's so hard to do, to turn around and make some good out of your life.
I feel like it can go one of two ways, and I feel like with him it went the better of the two. And when your father's not involved, you know what I mean? He decided to take the turn of, well, I'm going to be what I never had.
Right. And I think that's going to be something special. Unfortunately, he's taken away way too young, but
absolutely,
he's going to be able to live but, through all these people.
I hate it, but only the good die young, and it's disgusting. But
it's really disgusting.
Life.
But I'm also thinking like he's going to be able to live through so many people right now because he touched so many lives.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I feel that's what I always say. Like his energy is still here with us. Like my middle daughter, like I said, he was a big brother to her too, and this really crushed her as well. We actually all have necklaces, like urn necklaces, and every time she's not wearing hers, she randomly gets a notification from Instagram that he's a person she may know to follow on Instagram.
Wow.
So it's like, there's so many different things that have gone on since he's passed, and it's just like literally just earlier this evening, I took a walk with both of my daughters to one local store because, my middle one found out there was candy there. And we wanted to go. So anyways, my oldest was in the middle of the road, and my middle one told her, hey, get out of there. Like, you're going to get my car. She's like, oh, well, then I'll either get money or I get to go see my brothers. And then immediately tripped.
Wow.
And I was like, see, I said, that was Hunter telling you, like, cut the shit. Enough with your jokes, your dark humor jokes.
Yeah.
It's not funny. But yeah, there's so many different things that I've seen that it's just like, he's here, like, he's not here, but he's here. He's here with all of us, and he lives within all of us. And as one of my favorite, like, the way I like to view it is, he'll live as long as we live for him.
Absolutely. Yeah, he'll live on as long as he lives in the memories of everyone that was around him. Absolutely.
Definitely. And, like, one nice thing, even my mom made mention, because he even called her Graham and everything. She said, it's fortunate that they have Snapchat and everything because they have so many videos and stuff.
They're able to document their entire lives together.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, my daughter Chris actually showed my mom a video the other day, and she's like, I'm so glad they have that because they have so many videos and stuff. I said, exactly.
Yeah,
it's just so nice. They have videos, pictures. I mean, I even have some in mine, so.
As bad as social media can be, that's one of the good parts of it.
Absolutely. Well, one thing I'll give this generation, well, at least I notice from my kids and stuff, and them, they're not too much to post a lot. They have their stuff and they share it within their friend group. But yeah, absolutely.
See a funny picture, everyone wants to get a laugh out of it.
Oh yeah, of course. Like I have a bunch from. He actually went on vacation with us last summer to Rehoboth Beach, and I just have a bunch just from the beach alone last year, and like stuff like that. I have pictures from like when he would come over and like spend the night and hang out with them and stuff. Like I always laugh because like I would walk into my daughter. They share a room, so I'd walk in their room and he'd be sleeping under my one daughter's desk. I don't know why, but that's where he chose to sleep, on the floor. Like, well, that's the only other option besides the two beds that the girls were in, but is the floor. And he always chose to sleep under Maddie's desk, which made no sense to me, but
Hey, everyone has their spot.
And I mean, when Maddie wasn't home, he's the only one that was ever allowed in her bed to sleep in it or anything.
The more I hear about him, it's
tragic.
the more tragic.
Absolutely. It's been hard. Like, I'm sorry, excuse me.
Oh, go ahead.
It's been, I don't even know how to put it, because like I said, I love him like my own. Like, I've had my own stuff in my past that has happened, that my son's with his father and everything now, and it made that a little easier. And like I said, he became one of my own too, just like Chris became Kate's only daughter at the end of the day, because Kate never had a daughter. They called, each other's mom's mom, and what I mean? We're at each other's houses constantly, and he would come to me when he had problems, and Chris would go to Kate, and it's so funny because Kate's name is Kate, and I'm Caitlin, and everybody calls me Kate. So it was like kind of almost like a meant to be type thing.
Right. I think it's really nice. You guys like formed your own little like special like family between you two.
A nice
between
blend.
you two families.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and it's. I mean, Kate and I were never like we. So I Stedler in passing. She helped me move once. We were never close until this happened.
Right.
I mean, that's one positive I guess we can take from this. Silver lining. I try to be positive at times. But yeah, it's been, I can't even put words to it, because I still have moments where I find myself thinking like, oh my God, really, I'm never going to see him again.
Yeah, you could mention, because the only thing I knew previous talking to you tonight was I remember back in October seeing on Facebook, 2 teenagers gone missing. I went to bed with that, and then I wake up and I see the first thing I see is the headline of 2 bodies found.
Yeah, actually, so I just got mentioned from my daughter that they were missing. Like, there's other details that I'm not going to share just for my daughter's sake.
Right.
But she just said something about it, and I got like a rock in my stomach, and I was just like, "Oh, I'm sure they're fine." And I remember that next morning, because this was I got home Friday night was when, or what was it, Saturday night? Oh God, it's so confusing because of Labor Day. Okay. So I think it was Sunday night was when they went out. Monday I came home from work that morning, and Chris was at home, and I was talking, that's when she made mention about it, and like, I'm sure they're okay. And then she was with her friends most of that day, and then the next morning I was woken by my best friend who stopped by, and I kind of got woken up like real like jolted awake almost, and I was like, what's going on? And he mentioned, he's like, what's up? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, they found Hunter and Angel, and that, like, I just felt my whole world crumble. And my first thought was, where's my baby at? And I called Chris, and she was with her friends at the house, and she's like, oh, I'm coming right now, Mom. I didn't want to wake you up. I'm so sorry. And thank God, like, her friends only live literally, I can see their apartment from from where we live. And that's where, like, Hunter was right across the hall from where she was at with their other friends in the friend group. But, yeah, and she came right up, and it killed me. She collapsed into my mom's lap, and just, what do? she was that close to this whole situation. It could have been her, and there's so much to it. And then, like, you know, the first thing she said when she collapsed was, "What happened? We were supposed to conquer the world together." What do you say to your baby about that, you know?
I
You can't comfort her.
I could not imagine.
There's nothing that you can do except, unless, you know, you can have a time machine.
That's a no-win situation.
Exactly, and it's just, what do you say? What do you do? And then, like, even like the morning of the funeral, even like Kate, they don't have much family, so Kate asked if I would go with her the day before to the funeral home when they said they can come and see the boys. So I did, and I kind of knew what we were going to be walking into. So I had this fear, and I tried to prepare at least my middle one, but Chris, I couldn't even talk to her about it. She didn't want to hear it, and I understood that, so I didn't even mention it to her. But, like, even the morning of the funeral, she drug her feet out of the house and everything, because she even said, like, you know, if I don't go, it's not real, you know, until she was finally ready. And then we got down there, and both of my kids almost collapsed, and it was the hardest day of my life.
I bet.
I mean, not only, like, I made sure the day before to say my own personal goodbyes, because I knew I was going to have to be mom to the girls that day and be there for Kate and Jacob as well. So I would have had to hold stone face that day, but even still, like, how I don't even want to fathom losing a child of my own, but this is the closest I think I could get. And God, my heart goes out to anybody who's lost a child, especially in this manner. How do you move on? There is no moving on. Like, how do you just? I feel like when somebody passes, it's not the fact that I don't think you move on or the pain goes away. I just think you learn how to live with it,
How to cope with it, yeah.
Exactly. You just learn how to tolerate it, and there's no other way around it. But he was an amazing person. He was an amazing human. Like, before they met, my daughter was hanging out with a unfavorable crowd, and gotten herself into a little bit of trouble that she wasn't allowed to go, like, over to Pottsville anymore and stuff. And my daughter actually lived with my mom, and I was living in Pottsville with my son's dad at the time. And I remember my mom making mention of, like, oh my God, my first team met this amazing friend, this boy Hunter. I love him. I really like him. Oh, he's such a good kid. Da 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 da. And he stood out to me the moment I was at my mom's visiting him one day, and he walked right out in the kitchen and said, Hi, Chris's mom. I'm Hunter. Nice to meet you." Put out his hand and shook my hand. And Christine came walking out and goes, I looked at her. I said, "I like him." He looked at me in the eyes and he shook my hand. And then immediately he went in with me and helped me lay into her on why she didn't introduce us. And it's just, they were each other's world, essentially. And then it was them two originally in the friend group, and then the others followed. Some came, some went, and I mean, I'm very thankful and grateful and fortunate that Chris has those other few friends. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they want their names mentioned or not, so I'm not going to mention them.
Yeah, that's...
But,
yeah. I want to respect privacy.
I'm very fortunate and grateful and thankful that she has them at least, but this is out of my bounds. Like, how do you help your child cope with something you've never even experienced? Like, I had something where I had friends murdered when I was 19, but not like this, not to this extent. They had the person that day, you know, it was, and they weren't that close. Like, I wasn't that close to them. They were friends, but not like my, you know what I mean? My attached to my hip, you know, you see one, you see the other, vice versa. And, you know, and him, he was good to me too. Like I said, he knew when I wasn't okay, and like there'd be moments. There was one time that really sticks out in my head where there was something going on with my son, and he came up, what's wrong, Mom? Sat down and made me talk to him about it. And I was like, please don't tell Chris. He said, well, listen, you already know she's going to get mad at you and mad at me if she knows that both of us know and didn't tell her. So you have to tell her. I'm like, you set me up for this. You set me up. And I got his, like, crooked smile, and he's like, all right, I'm going into secret. Like,
It's that.
he was such a good kid. That did absolutely not deserve this whatsoever. And that is the worst part of this. Besides for the why and, like, who is how unfair this is. And how unfair it is to the people that were left behind now.
Yeah,
Like, his brother. Like, now, my oldest was always close with Jacob. Like, they call her Bubs. And that they were always close, and that was one thing. Like, we wanted them around each other after he passed because at least Jacob had her. And then, like, Maddie's only met him once or twice. Well, now he looked at his mom the one day and said, "I might have lost my brother, but I have two big sisters now."
That's heartbreaking. I mean, it's good he has two sisters, but just for a kid that age to say that is
I know.
heartbreaking.
I mean, it's soul crushing, but I just, like I said, I try to look at the positive, and I'm just so thankful that they have the people they do have. Like, we've lost this light in our life. Like, it sounds so cliche, but you would have to know Hunter to completely understand and gather exactly what we're saying. He was such a good person.
Just that unique personality of all the right things you would want.
And that exactly, unique personality. Because I used to always mess with him, like, you know what I mean, call him the dingus and stuff, because he wasn't. I don't want to say he wasn't smart, because he was smart. He was just ditzy.
Right.
At that time, like, and just the things he would do, and I'd be like, "What are you doing, boy? Like, come on." Like, what, Mom? Like
he just gets a thought and ran with it, and.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I had my mom put it the one day. She said, Hunter is like schemes, his ideas, like,
Mm-hmm.
It's just, he was family. And I mean, now we're all family, but, like, yeah, he was family, and they were family to my daughter. And I'm thankful for that as well. But one thing I see is, I have a past, and I've had my issues. I know Kate is as well, and I know Chris and Hunter bonded over that as well and helped each other through stuff like that, along with, like, I don't want to say not a great relationship, because Chris does have a relationship with her father, but not, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't there her whole life at times and stuff like that, and I feel like Hunter really got Chris through it, because before that, she was very distant with me and had her. We weren't where we're at now, and we weren't before stuff went on. But after Hunter came into her life, it's just our whole dynamic for our relationship as mother and daughter changed as well, for the better.
Right. And I mean, at least you're able to own up to your own mistakes too. And
absolutely. I mean, the first step is admitting that you were wrong. I mean, if you can't admit that you were wrong, you can't change a problem if you can't admit it first.
Right.
It's so funny, because I was just looking through, like, I go through sometimes, like, the old, like, because on Facebook and the iMessage and stuff, you can go and see just, like, all pictures sent. And for some reason, me and my girls were going through our Snapchats and stuff last night, and Maddie came across a picture that she took of me, Hunter, and Christine from April. Because we saw, like, whenever he comes from the night, I'd hang out with them a lot of the night, because I work night shift. And just, like, chill with them, and we'd either we'd have a deep conversation, or Hunter and I'd end up arguing about something. And I was going through my pictures between me and Chris, and there was a screenshot from a few years ago when he, like, went back to school, and I was yelling him about something. I guess he got in an argument with kids in school or something. I was like, I was like, hey, son, what is this I hear you're getting in fights at school, or you got in an argument with somebody your first day of school? He's like, what? Not me. Who told you this? I'm like, yeah, you, and you know exactly who told me. Like, it's just stuff like that. It's so funny. And then it's like, I don't know, back in 2006 or 7, that Gym Class Heroes came out with that stupid song, Cupid's Chokehold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to say, like, beginning of this year, I heard them blasting it from my daughter's room. And I ran in because I love that song and poked my head around the corner. I go, what are you listening to? Hunter's like, oh, I love this song. I'm like, no, oh my God. Yeah, so we bonded over it, of course. Then I came across a TikTok a while ago. It was that song, but at the part where he says, da-da-da, AMX going, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's funny because now that song, it almost never played on my playlist. It constantly pops up on my playlist, and it's mainly when I'm, like, upset about something. And I'm like, I know it's you. I know it's you. I know you're asking me what's wrong, and stop it. Like, it's just, he was a good person. He is a good person. He's still here. Even if he's not here in physical form, he's here.
Yeah, I'm a big believer just because our physical form isn't here, our spirit can still remain behind and make the presence known.
It's just, like, even if, like, I've always had a belief in, like, you know, something else, something more, you know, but if I did it before this, I do now, just because, like, the stupid little things, like my daughters and I and everybody else connected to this constantly talk about how they see angel numbers all the time. And my middle daughter has stuff going on, but she was away for a little bit, and she said every day she was away, the sky was pink. And that was one thing Hunter always said. He said if he was gone too soon, he would make sure that the sunset was beautiful every day. And they even said that. And again, it was always be pink, his favorite color, pink. Well, even today, we were leaving the house to go to the store, and Maddie goes, look, Mom, the sky's pink. And I go, hey, buddy, and wave to the sky. And then a few minutes later was when Christine made her comment and tripped. That's like, the week after my son passed away, I've always said that I love the snow, but I hate the cold. And a week after my son passed, I was walking down the main street of New Philadelphia, and it started snowing out of nowhere. But it was so bright and sunny that I didn't have to put on a coat. It was weird. And it was only on half of the street, this half that I was walking on. It was an immediate breakdown for me. I used to say to my son, yeah, I'll go build a snowman the day that the sun comes out at the same time. You know me, I hate that cold. But my son would force me to come out every year and build an igloo. And then it became a fort in our yard made out of snow. That we would spend days shoveling it out, making slides, where it was like I said, my whole entire yard was a snow fortress for him and his friends, and for Jacob to have slides and comfortable seats. And like I said, me and Nicole don't get along, but I had so much fun with him. It didn't matter. My son, about his character, he was quite a character. Oh my God, yeah. That's when he was younger. Me and one of my friends decided that we were going to embarrass our children at the basketball court. So we turned on our 90s Salt and Pepper and played What a Man, and we're bouncing up and down like ridiculous and screaming, hey, homies, acting completely ridiculous. And my son goes, yo, homies, how you doing? Meanwhile, my other friend, her son is running and trying to hide from us, like trying to deny that he even saw or noticed us. We go to the dollar store, and me trying to be a smartass and embarrass my son, I would scream, hey, Hunter, I found that large box of Tux. He would immediately scream back,
Mom, was it spring fresh or vinegar that you liked? Son of a bitch, like he would always get me worse. You could never make him blush or be embarrassed or ashamed. He just accepted me for the crazy mother that I am. And just loved me.
That was one thing about him. He accepted everybody. Like, and I try not to think about the why, because I can't in my mind, even if or when, hopefully when we get a why, it still won't be enough. It still won't explain it, because, I mean,
there's no good reason.
There is no reason. I mean, there's no reason to kill anybody, but especially children. But like, it's just it goes to show the type person that were involved. Like that just shows the true evil that exists in this world. Like one of the worst things too, from like, I was very overprotective with, especially my oldest. I don't know. I guess when I had her so young, I didn't even think about the fact that she would have to go through all the pain and horror of the world. And so I tried to protect them from it as much as possible. Like, you shouldn't, because you got to prepare them for the real world. But she's my cream puff. I always called her my cream puff. And I'm sorry if I embarrassed you, Christine, but the thing is, like, we all know as kids who became adults one day, teenagers who became adults, we all have something in our lives, that turning point, that traumatic moment or whatever, heartbreak or betrayal that sets our minds to what the world really is. And it kills me that this was it for her and for Maddie, that this is how they saw what the world truly is. And Jacob too, like, for all the kids involved in this, like, this is what it is. Like, it's not, sadly, like, I even said to Kate one time, like, I wish it would have been that one of them stabbed the other one in the back, because eventually they would have got over it, but Hunter still would have been here.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I kept, to have those words come out of my mouth, it would have never even been Hunter to do something like that. Like, I always joke, because he was the friend that would blow up Christine, and she was the one who would be like, put the phone down. Like, I'm like, would you answer your friend? You're being such a bitch. Like, it's like, I'm in the middle of a game. Like, oh my God, okay. And that's when he'd go up and be like, yo, where's she at? Mom, where's Chris? Like,
my son's part of the day that was his most favorite was a sunrise. As I stated previously, he was big into hunting. He lived with me and his father until he was 2 years old in Montana. I went out hunting with my son on a papoose. So he's been hunting and a part of the hunting world his whole life. He also saw that as a way of life, meaning that's how you should treat others. Did he kill animals? Yeah, but he didn't do it unmercifully. He wouldn't shoot unless he knew he got a clear shot and that animal was not going to be suffering. It wasn't about just to kill. It was about the hunt, and it was about the fact that he did it fairly. He would track a deer for season after season after season. He went everything from muzzleloader to turkey, small game. He also was known for fishing with a bow and arrow, 21-inch trout, native brook trout in a stream with a bow and arrow. He got it first try. And
skill.
He got his coyote when he was only 11 years old. He got a bear with his Uncle Jeff. He prided himself on never being a road hunter, and that he worked hard for his trophy. And trophy not meaning how big was the antlers, but how big was the hunt and how exciting the story was at the end of it. He was always big into telling you the story of how he would track back deer and how beautiful the day was, or how he heard, the leaves crumble under the deer's hooves. He was so explicit in all the detail of those hunts. It was as if you were there. And it wasn't so much, like I said, it wasn't about the kill, but it was about the family time that he was with his uncle. It was about the time that he said that's where his higher power was in the woods. Because every day that he got to go out and enjoy seeing the animals and getting to enjoy that beautiful sunrise was just amazing. And that there was no church in the world that could ever paint a picture like his God did. He just saw things so clearly. And this is coming from a young age. 12 years old, my son's telling me how he believes his God is the one that paints the skies.
That is a beautiful outlook to have.
Absolutely. He constantly was the motivator, I want to say, of his friend groups. Last summer, he decided to tell all of his friends, don't worry about getting into a relationship and doing dumb shit right now. Let's all go and work on ourselves. Let's go to the gym. Let's feel good about ourselves. Let's get healthy. Let's do some stuff together, And they did the whole summer. His friends, all of them, they worked out together. They went for hikes nonstop. And this was just last summer. Fishing, my God, they were fishing from one town to another, walking streams for 3 towns straight down a creek, and fishing the whole time. And of course, Hunter would always come back saying, you guys know, tell Mom who got the biggest ones. And it was always Hunter, because he was very keen on patterns of the fish and what time of year it was and what was naturally around. So he was better equipped as far as what to put on the end of the line. And that's because his attention to detail was just so amazing. That's what I think helped him with his keen sense on the people around him and how they were feeling, or if somebody was hurt or if somebody was angry. He was always the mediator. If his friends were mad at each other, he was the one that would crack jokes and say, come on now, just stop, because at the end of the day, we're all going to be hanging out anyway. Just stop. And they would, because he was right. They all loved each other. And my son, like I said, as Caitlin said previously, she had a Apache path at the age of 7. I was set up by a girl that I considered my best friend, selling her marijuana. I sold her $40 worth of marijuana, and I went to prison for that. My son watched this happen. He went to the courtroom, stood up for me when the woman that he called his aunt was the one that set me up to get out of trouble. I'm not saying what I did was right, but I was not killing people,
Right.
I sold a bag of marijuana, and my son wasn't so much mad at me as he knew why I was doing it. I wanted to be the mom that he wanted, which was a full-time mom. That was the plan when I got married and had him, was that I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. And I wanted to accomplish that for him, at least until he was settled in school. And when I had to go to court for my bail reduction, my son showed up with Anthony and Uncle Jeff, and the girl that had set me up went to go over and try to talk to my son. And he immediately stood up and said, "You get away from me right now. What you did was hurt my mom, and you try to get me away from her. Stay away from me. Don't ever talk to me again." This is a boy that's 7 years old. He said, "You tried to destroy my family, and my mommy only loved you." So, here's my whole family is so hard. All of a sudden, it was questioned whether I should be a mother or not. If I was fit to take care of my son. And the whole time, my son begged and screamed at everyone to leave my mommy alone. That little boy has been protecting me his whole life. And I always thought it was the other way around. I always thought that I was the one protecting him. But, when you look back at it and where my life was when I got pregnant with him, I could definitely say I wouldn't be the person I am today without hearing that heartbeat for the first time. When I was 6 weeks pregnant with Hunter, we went to go get an ultrasound, and he was so tiny that I couldn't even see them on the ultrasound. When I got home that day, my husband and I walked outside and were struck by lightning.
Holy shit.
Yeah. My husband and I were holding hands. He reached for the lead for the dogs that was tied in between 200-year-old trees, lived in Western Pennsylvania. He was the one that was struck. I was the ground, and so were the dogs. The dogs' names were Hunter and Crystal. They both immediately died, and I was blown 10 feet up into the air. Second strike of lightning, and he hit me in my chest, knocked me down to the ground, exited out my right leg into the ground, back up into my left leg, and exited out my spine. I was life-flighted, and the next morning is when they finally gave me an ultrasound, and that's when I found out that Hunter was only 1 instead of 2 now. The other baby had disappeared. The doctors in my flight and everything told us that without the dogs taking that shock for us, me and my son would have been dead. So I decided if it was a boy, it would be Hunter, girl, Crystal. And my mom always used to say, "Thank God the dog's name wasn't Fido." So my family nicknamed my son Sparky. Because of the lightning strike and because of my mom's love of Chevy Chase and Christmas Vacation. Now, 2 years ago, my 2 sons begged Mom for a dog. So Sparky, who was 5 weeks old, came home to us because my son, that was him just moaning. My son had a little bit of an ego, named the dog after himself. And it was actually Chris, his best friend's father, who was able to get us this dog. But Sparky and Hunter became brothers. And and I yelled all three of them the same. We had a very twisted sense of humor in this house. The last note that I have written from my son when I was at work one day, it says, "Hey, Mom, I got a surprise when my friends stopped by another friend's house here in town. I love you and I'll see you after work. Love, shit stain." Shit stain was because he came home from Head Start the one day and asked me where do babies come from. I immediately started gasping for air. And my ex-boyfriend's mother was there. She goes, "Kate, relax. I got you." I'm like, oh, God, I can only imagine, because that woman had such a sense of humor. Let me tell you. But she says, "Okay, Hunter, so you know how Mommy goes in the refrigerator and she eats and eats and eats until her belly's full?" Yeah. Yeah, well, Mommy, when she wants to have a baby, does it even more. And when she's all filled, she finds a spot out in the woods that's protected by the trees, and she shits on a log. You're hatched. You're your mommy's shit stain. So,
That's
I
unique.
mean, we tease him and say, "Hey, I was at work today and I had to defend you. They said you eat shit sandwiches." And I said, "Don't worry, honey." I told him you never eat the bread. It was just, we always were teasing with each other. Unless it was something serious. You know, I used to say to him all the time, "Don't you dare make me become a mom today. I love you a lot. Don't make me do it. You know, I will do it if I have to. Don't make me do my job." It's also kind of a ha-ha when my kids would be leaving with all his friends. I'd be like, if make sure you don't make me do my job. Remember, 11th commandment, don't get caught. I don't want to pay that fine. You better not get in trouble, you know, because I'll look behind. I was a single mom of 2 boys, and I found it easier to be a friend and an ear and somebody that they could trust more than any of the other things. To me, you could be a genius and have straight A's and college degrees, but if you're not a good person, you're still not a good person.
Absolutely.
And my son can run an entire machine shop because his Uncle Jeff owns one. Lathes, forklifts, all that. He's been able to do it since he's 9 years old. He didn't go to school for it. He watched and he learned. He was very intelligent. He picked up on things, not the second or third time like it took me, but the first time he saw it, he would remember. He remembered details, like I said earlier. And it hurts not to hear the stories anymore. And every day that he came home, it was anything that you would think was just a normal conversation, a normal part of your day. My son made it entertaining. He could always make me laugh. And he always stood up for me.
You mentioned stories. One of his last stories he told me, one of the last things I could think of like that pertains to stories, is he stopped by the one day and he had these, oh my God, I can't even think of the name of them, but there were these like white with red Nikes that he was in love with. He's like, Mom, look. Like, what? Throws his foot up on Chris's bed and goes, "Look at my shoes. Look at my new shoes." I said, "Nice." He goes, and guess what? Throws his hand like he's like, you know, Vanna in the Wheel of Fortune. And I got him on sale. I was dying. I was like, well, you have no idea how proud I am to hear you say that, because most 18-year-olds wouldn't care about a sale. Like, Like him compared to Chris, like in their friend group, my daughter's role was like she's pretty much. I don't know. She always had what they say drip. She was the fashionista, like so she wears boys' clothes, has cut off all of her hair and stuff, and but like yeah, right. She is like it's like you know what I mean. She is like the best of the best wardrobe, and I would never hear her say sale ever. I think, and then you have him walking. He goes, and I got them on sale. I'm like, oh my God, I can't even with you. I cannot even. And now I have them. I actually have them bookmarked in my phone. I don't have the extra money right now, but there was 3 or 4 different pairs of shoes that Hunter either had when he passed or had at one point that were, because my daughter is obsessed with shoes. That like significant for him, and she wants them. So one day, I promised her one day she'll have them as well. And those white and red high top Nikes are those shoes as well, or one of the pairs. But yeah, that cracked me up. Just like I have a picture from the beach, and it's these like stupid little toys in the room that the 3 of them slept in because there's a bunk bed and another bed in that room. And it was him with this like stupid like squeaky puffer fish. And come to find out after he passed away that apparently he took it and it became Sparky's toy. I'm like, oh geez, like the things like I don't know. There was I mentioned this with somebody else earlier. Like, you know, yes, I love my kids when they were babies, but I used to say when they're little, like, oh, I hate they're growing up, you know, blah, blah, blah. But now I love that they're growing up because I have different relationships with them, and I get to see the people they're becoming. And like me, Chris, Hunter, and Maddie would all hang out, like when he would come spend the night. And like I said, when Maddie wasn't at home, it would be him sleeping in the bed. So like, recently she went away for a little bit. She wasn't home for a few days, and I even said to Chris, I said, are you going to be okay? And she's like, yeah, I'll be all right, because he used to come spend the night with her. And it broke my heart because I'm thinking to myself, like, you're going to be okay, but, you know, walking in the morning from work and not seeing him in that bed is going to be hard. Thankfully, one of their other friends was there, but they came and spent the night. Like, so 2 of their friends from the friend group and Jacob, they all took turns. Essentially, that time frame that Maddie wasn't home, and I think the hardest one was Jacob because he looks exactly like his brother, number one, but also he sleeps in the same exact position as his brother. And I walked in from work and I looked over and Chris was already awake because I don't think she either went to bed super early or she hadn't slept yet. She was up gaming all night with her friends, 18-year-olds. But I walked in and saw Jacob there, and I looked at Christina and immediately the tears. And she just mouthed, I know, Mom, I know.
When you have that routine
and
that you're...
I try to express this to Chris. There's no solace or comfort from it, but at the same time, it's try not to view it as he was taken from us, but we were fortunate enough to have him come into our lives.
Yeah, you get to know him and experience him.
He wasn't my child. I didn't give birth to him or anything. So, of course, it was just a matter of fate that he walked into that playground that day. And, it's funny enough, Kate mentioned how he helped all the kids that got bullied. The reason they became friends is because Chris was at the playground and he was getting bullied. And, he came to save the day, or he was there and he happened to save the day, and they were together ever since, And same thing with Maddie. There was an incident where somebody treated her poorly. That's the best way I could put it. And I didn't find out until after he passed because they kept it from me because they knew I wouldn't be happy about it. But I'm kind of upset that they did keep it from me. He took, I don't want to say took care of the kid, but he was the one who handled it, essentially. Like, he made sure that Maddie was okay because this boy put hands on my daughter, my 13-year-old daughter at the time. And I said to Christine one day, I said, I wish I would have known, because I would have given him a hug and said thank you. Because I know what it's like to be bullied. And it killed me that my daughters went through it. And it's such a disgusting and horrible thing that these kids go through. Like, even in kindergarten, like, before they know their own colors, they're bullying each other. Like, I went through it with my oldest. And, Christine, that was one thing. That's another reason why I think they bonded so well, was Christine was that person, too. Somebody got picked on. She was the one who would open her mouth. Like, hey, leave them alone. Like, that's not right. And Chris, I was always okay. Like, she would check in with me every once in a while, but, like, I didn't worry too much about her before all this because, well, number one, it's cliche, but things like this don't happen in this town. Sadly, it did. But even with not just this happening, but with Hunter being gone, I feel so less secure now with her not being around me, because I knew if she was with Hunter, she'd be okay. I knew as long as they were together, she would be all right. Like, even if something were to happen, I knew that he would make sure that she was okay. Even over himself. Like, they were each other's ride or die, that was her person. That was his person. And I tell her all the time, we've got to look at it as, it sucks to say it, but we got to be grateful that he was in our lives. That even if it was a short time, we were fortunate enough to know him, and for him to have such an impact in our lives, and for him to become what he did, for what he became in our family. He became family as well. He was son to me, grandson to my mom, brother to my daughters, and uncle to my nephew, little Kyle, their cousin, cousin to my nephew, and he's also on the spectrum as well. Oh yeah, and my brother as well, my daughter's uncle. I won't mention his name either, but like, they would talk about fishing and hunting, because my brother's super into hunting and fishing and all that. And they bonded over that, and Kate actually gave my brother some of his fishing lures to Chris's uncle, my brother, and I know that meant a lot to him too. He doesn't really fish anymore, but still, it's something he'll hold on to too. Because he was, and even my other brother, him and his wife, they donated money directly to the funeral home, and my mom, same thing, on top of taking Kate and Jacob shopping, because like, she felt like she's like, I know money can't do anything, but what else can I do? And it's so funny, because we talk about like clothing and stuff, and I swear to God, each other had each other's clothing. They lived in each other's clothes. Right. And, the shorts he wore at the funeral were Chris's at first, like, there were these Hurley shorts with like different colored letters, and it was so funny. We actually, when we went shopping for the clothes for the funeral, Kate found a shirt with the same exact lettering on it that was Hurley. Like pink H, like neon U, so on and so forth. And I'm like, that's just so befitting. It was so much more. Like, he was so much more than friend, so much more than loved one, so much more than son and brother. Like, how do you put words to something that there isn't a word for?
You really
and
can.
that's like, that even feeling. If we do know why, one day it's still not going to be enough.
No matter what, at the end of the day, as I stated, after my son had passed, and his cremation was over, and I was given his ashes. No matter what the end of this whole horrible ordeal is, that's what I'm left with.
Yeah.
Nothing will ever change that. I'll never have my son sneak up on me. When he comes to visit me, he is very open with me, sometimes a little too much. Some things the mother just doesn't want to know. But I always told him to be honest and open with me, because I'm the only person that would ever really stand up and be there for him when he needed it. And that's why when I was first told that my son was gone, when I walked into the police station, I told them about my son's gun, which is the noted ghost gun. That was Hunter's gun that he bought off the street. He bought that gun to protect his family, and that is it.
Right.
He enjoyed shooting. He enjoyed being the man of everyone.
Everything to everybody. That's exactly what he was. Everything to everyone.
He always felt it was his burden. Whatever it was that was bothering you, laid on his shoulders, and he took it. You know, he witnessed me being abused, and the last person that I had dated, again, you know, same situation as my family always said. You know, it doesn't matter how old, how young, or what color. I've always gone with the same person over and over. But the last one I was with, he came into my home and was calling me very unkind words. And I had no idea that Hunter was outside the house on the corner hanging out with his friends. And I heard everything that was being said. He was 16 years old at that time. And he ran into the home and he screamed, "No, you're not going to talk to my mother like that. You will not disrespect my mom." And asked that guy outside to fight him. I had never seen my son with such rage. And I never realized the impact of my poor decisions, what they had done, and how they had formed him. And that's where I really started realizing that he was, and will always be, the protector and the man in our lives. I stopped dating after that. Hunter, I was a bartender, and he would walk me home from work. He showed up to work 10 minutes ahead of time, would take out the garbage, and would make sure that there was no men around, and would walk me home. Recently, since he's lived in his own apartment, he would come and just randomly show up and say, "Here, Mom, here's some money. Go out. I've got Jacob. Go have fun. Go get cake for the night." I mean, what 18-year-old kid does that?
Well, that's a man right there. That's not a kid. That's someone being a man.
Right? I mean, I couldn't be more proud of the way that he turned to. And when I hear how many different girls had asked him questions like, "Hunter, do I look fat in this?" he would quickly say, "No, and if anybody ever calls you that, you let me know."
Very protective. Are you guys still there? Back to recording.
Okay. My son hooked up all the electronics for me. I'm not computer savvy. I cannot use a smartphone. I'm still on the dumb phones, and even that is difficult. But when I was trying to get the information for my Walmart Plus app, shortly after my son had passed, me and my friend came to my house and uploaded my computer. I went when the computer came on. The computer was already open on my son's profile with the next tab up that said security and passwords. I clicked on the button and it gave me an option of syncing. And I looked at my friend and I said, is this good or bad? He goes, I think it should be good. I pressed it and all of my son's contacts, all of his emails, all of his Instagram, Facebook, and numerous other apps downloaded right to my phone. And so I have been reading messages and things that my son posted and wrote for over 3 years. Some of it's very heartbreaking. There was a lot of, if I die or when I die, there was a lot of not to cry because he's gone. He would make the clouds cotton candy just for us. And you can only see his life going two different directions. Death was one of them. And I just wish I would have known what he knew. I'm going to read the messages of my son asking his supposed friends for help, stating that one of the people that were there that night wanted to shoot him in the back of his head. I read that message. It was July 23rd. And one of the two men that are noted to be the guys that were in the woods with my son that night was the one that he said, this man wants to shoot me in the back of the head. Please, man, help me.
So, someone he thought was going to shoot him in the back of the head was actually with him the night.
Yes. As I previously stated, there was one man that wasn't mentioned that was going to be there. When I talked to every single person that talked to my son that night about where he was going, what was going on, not one of them said the second person's name. It's only supposed to be the guy that was driving, coming to pick up my son. I honestly believe, as I stated before, my son would have never handed anybody a gun with a clip in it. I honestly believe with the time frame of when they left the house until when that one the one witness that went for help and had hypothermia, I believe when he got in that car that him and his friend were both in grave danger immediately and that they were fighting from the moment that they got in that car. Because the statements that were stated from these two people about them hanging out and drinking, as I stated, there was no alcohol in my son's system.
Yeah. So
that's false. And if you're lying about that, what else are you lying about? It's just, it's sickening to hear the blatant lies. And, I mean, if you were tough enough and brave enough to do what you did, then you should be brave enough to take the consequences. Because for every action, there is a reaction.
Absolutely.
And if you're not willing to take that, you should have never done your action. Because, for him, he just shot somebody in the back of the head. But for me, and for everyone that knew Hunter, he just took somebody that protected us and loved us. And it made everybody's life better. Like I said, he was a mediator. He was just a cuddle bug, honestly. We used to have Snuggle Sunday every Sunday. Mind you, he hasn't snuggled with Mom since she's 16, but he still had to come home on Sunday and watch at least one show with us. But Snuggle Sunday was brought upon me and my son when I first started working, and I left his father, and Sunday was our day that we just would go to the grocery store and buy every kind of junk food we could possibly think would stuff in our faces that day. Go home, get in our pajamas, and watch cartoons all day long. That was how we would get ready for our week. And, Snuggle Sunday's just not snuggly no more, just nothing feels right. It all feels like there's just, it's not even possible. Like I said, usually by Thanksgiving, we have a Christmas tree up. And I don't feel right celebrating or having any kind of joy. And it's a horrible way to feel when you have another child that's left behind. I try to make it as normal as possible. But it's not normal. And I don't think it's ever going to be. Jacob is not even thinking about Christmas. I mean, what 10-year-old doesn't think about Christmas? And he keeps saying, Mom, I don't care if we don't have Christmas this year. Christmas was Hunter's anyway. So, it was the Elf on the Shelf this year, which was kindly named by Hunter George Mock, named our Elf on the Shelf George. Well, George came home this year, day before Thanksgiving, because he had to send a special message to Jacob. Before his brother passed on to heaven, he stopped at the North Pole and asked Santa Claus to please let Jacob know that he's always going to be watching him. He loves him. And my son starts screaming and shouting in joy because he said, Mom, my brother still loves me. Like he was shocked that Hunter would still love him because we weren't there to save him. My 10-year-old feels guilt. And no 10-year-old should feel guilty about something that someone else did to their family members. But I get it, because I do. I feel guilty because the last thing I said to my son was, stop being an ass and pay the goddamn Netflix. Because he had, as I said, I'm not good with electronics. My son had all of the credit cards and everything through his Cash App for me. Because I lose cards and I lose stuff constantly. And Hunter was my wallet. Well, he didn't live at home now. And, he went and answered his phone like any other 18-year-old. In the meantime, Jacob's gone, Mom, the Netflix won't work, So I was snapping out on my son. And at 4:20, I got an email stating Netflix was just paid. Kind of like a, ha Mom, it's not a big secret that my son smoked pot. He dealt with PTSD really bad, depression, night terrors. when I was locked up, and he was with another family member. He was getting beat and mistreated and told that he wasn't loved. His mom dropped him off and never wanted to see him again. I mean, at that time he was 10. And when I found out, I immediately went and got him the same day. And my son came back a completely different person. Like I said, I would try to wake him up for school in the morning, and he would immediately hog roll off the bed and get into a fighting stance, ready to defend himself. Before I went to prison, he was one of the most sweetest, caring, cuddly. Wake him up in the morning, and he would immediately say, "Good morning, Mom." You know, he used to say to each other at night, and I'd tuck him in, I'd take a deep breath of air and sniff all around him and go, "I'll smell you in the morning." And so he always thought it was funny when one of his friends would be coming out of the shower, just got clean, and he'd go, "You still stink." You know, it was something that was known as a loving thing. Your stink is your sin. And no matter how much you wash, you're not going to get rid of your scent. But a lot of people didn't understand that he was always just a humorous person that tried to make everybody in the world laugh and have a good time. I wish out of all this that my child would have told me about that as well. Told me that he had a fear. Told me that he had a concern. Told me that somebody was trying to hurt him. Because I've always been a crazy mom, you know. You dare hurt my baby, and it didn't matter that he was 18. It was still my baby. He used to be grossed out about this, but I'd see him walking down the street. I'd go over and I'd lick him on the cheek. I'd say, "Remember, I licked it. It's mine." It's the same thing I did when I got seen for the last time at the funeral. I wasn't given the opportunity to get to see my son until he was at the funeral parlor. Yeah. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
Are we still here?
Hello? Yes.
Okay, I thought I heard a noise or something.
Okay. Yeah, but like I said, we weren't given the opportunity to see our sons until the funeral director had prepared him to be seen, which really, it's something that really hurts. The fact that I couldn't be there when he was down, the fact that I couldn't see him at any time, to just hold him and tell him it's okay. Nobody should have to die alone, and nobody should leave somebody like that. You know, I guess I'm supposed to be grateful because there's a lot of mothers out there that are still searching for their children's bodies. So for that, I'm glad that I was able to get my son. But at the same time, I'm not, you know, this was, I mean, they're just, all of them, they're teenagers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all tragic. It really is. No matter whether it's someone missing or someone that was murdered like this, it's no matter how you look at it, it's horrible. And the more you talk about your son, the more I just understand. Just he was a beautiful soul. He is a beautiful soul.
Yeah. He loved older music. Sugar Magnolia from the Grateful Dead. No Sugar Tonight. He loved the old rock and roll type music.
The hair bands
My
and
mother.
the hair bands and all them back
More
then.
like Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Okay.
Grateful Dead. He liked good music. Don't get me wrong. He liked all the music of today too, but he could sing pretty much any song that would come on any station at any time. He used to sing Lucas Grimm's 7 Years Old to his little brother.
That's a good song.
He sang Bruno Mars, You Don't Know You're Beautiful, to me. He always told me that I deserved better and that I was too good of a person to go through what I've been going through, and he wasn't going to allow it anymore. He would not allow it. Mom, you no longer have the right to pick the next man you're with. He said, when you think you like somebody, let me meet him first. Don't bring him home to my brother. I meet him first. And we had a very clear understanding and rule about that. I admit it. You're right, son. I am not a good pick when it comes to men. And I did trust him with anything in my life. Including my bank accounts and all my personal information. Because he was a good kid. He had amazing art.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. I was telling her before, the only thing I knew about this before, we had this conversation was went to bed one night seeing a post, there's 2 more people missing, and then wake up to a post that bodies were found and a coroner was called. And now all this information given, it's just
It makes
more
a sad story
and
even
more tragic. It's like no kid should ever have that happen to him. It shouldn't happen to anybody. And then just to hear what kind of soul he was, or I'm sorry, what soul he is, it's
unfair.
It is unfair. I don't know what words to say.
To understand who Hunter was to know Hunter. Absolutely. But even explaining him, there's not words. Like I said before, I can't fathom that person. It's just something about him.
He's just
it was
unique.
Goofy, funny. Like, him and I got into arguments, because I try to impose my, a little bit, like, I'm only 35. I had Chris very young. I try to impart some of my wisdom just in the fact, because, I feel, of course, nobody wants to get old. And I feel more connected to them than what they think. And I feel closer to that age, because I wish I was closer to that age. But, I've always tried to, impart some of the wisdom and things I've gone through, because you don't want your children to make the same mistakes as you.
Right.
And I remember the one time we were having a discussion about, going through phones when you're in relationships and stuff. And I was in a pretty bad relationship for a while, and we had them issues and stuff. And I always said, after all that, if I ever were to get into another relationship again, like if you, like I would have no problem with somebody going into my phone, but if you felt the need to, then there's no point in you being there. And he had a completely different stance on it. And oh my God, we locked horns on that one. Like, he was like, I think it's okay because what if, and I'm like, but baby, like, listen to me, honey, like, I get it. I understand completely. You have, like, but at the same time, you've got to understand what trust is. And if you felt the need to go through her phone, you probably shouldn't be with her. Like, if there was something that was giving you reasons to feel that need, then you probably shouldn't be there. If you're getting that, if you're 99% of the time, your intuition is going to be right. And I tried to, explain it to him, but we were back and forth to the point where I got so flustered. I was like, you know what, Chris? I was like, you deal with him because I can't.
What does that keep?
And then it was white. It wouldn't let, I clicked answer and it didn't answer anything. So I think I know what that is.
Yeah, same time to us. Like, my phone's right here.
Get over it. Like,
yeah. Same thing. My phone's sitting right here next to my recording thing here, not touching anything, and it just disconnects.
I'm telling you, I think he's like, all right, that's enough for like your discussion. Like, stop. That's one thing I will give him that too. He was very modest, and he didn't see himself as this person that we put on this pedestal because he deserves to be up there, of course. But he didn't see himself in that light.
He just saw himself as just another everyday.
He saw himself as a fixer. He was a fixer. Yeah. Like, it's.
He used to say all the time, I'm not anything special, Mom. I'm just doing the right thing.
Yeah, right. And that's the wildest part for me. Like, I wish he was still here so I could slap him for that comment.
I tell him all the time. Son, it takes a special person to always try to do the right thing.
Especially in this world. I mean, there's so many people not doing the right thing and so few doing the right thing.
And like, that's the thing with like that with Chris and him. Like, I always said even before, Chris is an old soul. She doesn't belong with this generation. There was something different about her. She's too kind-hearted. You know what I mean? I don't want to say soft. That's not the word, but she's too nice for this generation. And then Hunter came along. Like, I made mention to somebody before that when I met Hunter, then I was like, oh my God, there's two of them. Like, I couldn't believe it was possible. And then I realized, like, Hunter, maybe to some, but the Hunter I always saw, the Hunter I got was sweeter than my child at times. Like, it was always, well, Chris, don't do that to Mom. Like, don't, like, but yeah, those, like, they weren't meant for this generation. And I think I hate to say it, but I think that's what got him where he was, because he wasn't meant for the generation he was with. Like, they were different. They're built different. And I tell Chris all the time, like, she knows she graduated high school this past summer, and she got lax for a while. And now I heard mention since he's passed, like, things that she wants to do, and she wants to go to college and stuff, and she said, Mom, he couldn't do it, so I'm going to do it for us.
I'm glad she's doing that.
And it made me happy, because there was a time where I didn't see her, like, I just see her on the video game every day, and I'm like, I don't want to I want to give her, her time, she's a teenager or whatever, live your life, blah, 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 but, like, at the same time, it's like, I want to be hard on her, but I don't want to be hard on her. It's hard to be hard on your child when you weren't there their whole lives, because you feel this sense of guilt.
Right.
And she's doing her thing, but then I heard her say that, and I'm like, you have no idea how happy that makes me, and I'm sure makes him. Because, she didn't mention anything about her future for the longest time, and she wants to go to college, so she wants to do something with photography, and that's another thing. They both love photography, and she always said that she was Hunter's photographer. A lot of the candidates and stuff you see on Facebook, my daughter took.
She took our family photo.
Yeah, she took the family photo and everything. Like, it was. Now she wouldn't do it for our family. No, but it's just, they were two of a kind. I mean, and I look at her now and I just see pain in her eyes, and I'm so scared because, she says to me all the time, she goes, Mom, I try to see it as he's not gone, he's going to be back. And that scares me because I'm hoping in her own time she'll be able to deal with it. But I told her, I said, it hasn't fully hit you 100%, and it's not going to until something big comes along and you need him most. Like she's already said, she doesn't really go on TikTok anymore because she would want to tag him and stuff, and he can't see it. And I mean, I'm grateful she has an online community of friends as well who, it's crazy to say this group of friends she's met online, even they were crying and asking questions because they got close with Hunter through her.
Right.
They would play games together, and you know what I mean? Like, he touched people who live in other states. And they were just like, what do you mean he's gone? Like, I was there when she told them, and two of them were crying and everything, and they never even met him in real life. He was just like, we would play GTA and stuff together, and oh my God, he was amazing. He was awesome, Of course, they all smoke weed. Like, we smoke together, and like, he touched lives that weren't even in the state.
It was a known fact that you could call day or night. If you had a problem, Hunter was going to answer the phone.
Or he'd call you right back.
And he was running. He was running while he was answering it. He was known for sprinting across town.
Oh, I used to tell him he got up our hill in 3 steps. I always said that. He would take 3 steps to get up the hill. Because I'm like, I'd watch him, like, sprint up this hill to my house, and I'm like, you're crazy. How does he do it? Me and my friend be sitting out in the front porch, and he'd come up and see Chris or see me or whatever, and I'm like, even my friend says, like, look at this kid. Goddamn long legs on him. Like, always shorts, no shirt, like.
Even shoveling the snow.
Oh, my God.
Could not get a coat on that kid for nothing.
I'm surprised. The picture I found last night of him and Chris, he was in joggers in that picture. I swear I never saw the boy in pants.
Yeah, he supported his mother, and he supported the women in his community a lot. I can't tell you how many times I caught my son jumping off the top deck of my house because he didn't want me to know that he was leaving the house at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning because a friend was crying. A friend couldn't sleep, and he would run to, whether it was in this town or a town over. He was known for jogging 3 miles to get to a friend's house because they needed somebody to talk to. He's always been the one, even though he had friends that were bigger than him, he would walk everyone home at night. No one walked home alone except for Hunter, because Hunter was the one that was going to protect you. Before he passed, the bodyguard, he always said, Mom, no matter what, that's my position, that's my job. I have to take care of them. Please don't be mad at me, Mom. I have to protect my friends, their family too, And, I did understand it. And like I said, again, how proud I was. But the fact that I don't have that sense of security for my son, and the fact that I wasn't able to be the sense of security that my son needed from me. Me and Hunter were arguing about some of the life choices that he had been making for the last couple months of his life. He just got involved with the girl that he moved in with. Still still to this day, I've never seen her face to face. She's the one that introduced my son to these people. And my son and I were arguing because I used to say all the time, all these people that you're talking about, I don't know them, which means they're not of good character, son. You need to get away from them. If you can't bring them home, you shouldn't be with them. And he would say, Mom, relax, I got it.
And my son wasn't right when he got this to with Chris.
And he just became like his wall that he had built up for so many years from not feeling like he was whole because he felt like he was missing, that feeling of being wanted or needed by his father. He said all the time, I guess I'm just not a person that's meant to have a dad or have somebody like that that'll ever love me. And
that's rough.
yeah, and the fact that he turned that around, because there's so many children that go through similar stories where they don't have a dad, and they decide that they don't want to be around children. They figure that they're going to be a bad parent, a bad person. They shouldn't be around kids because their father wasn't good, so they can't be. My son was known for being the babysitter. There's a little girl that my son babysat. They used to paint his fingernails. My son came home with pink and red fingernails, and I would show everybody how beautiful his nails looked. Had tea parties. He had no problem at all putting pink on. It was his favorite color. He let the preteen girls put makeup on him, tweeze his eyebrows, whatever they needed to feel happy or good for the day, he was willing to do. The reason that he became so strongly affected by the pink is numerous women in my family have had cancer and bouts of cancer. I've had some cancer issues in my life, and it's a very big subject for me and my son. The Roses, my babci, which means grandmother in Polish, got a rose tattoo when she first married my Jaji, my grandfather. They were second husband and wives, and my grandfather was looking at a diamond earring, chuckling and saying, "What do you think?" And she said, "You get that, and I'll get a tattoo." Well, my grandfather went and got his ear pierced, so my grandmother got a rose tattoo on her arm. I now have a rose tattooed on my stomach that I got when I was 21, the same rose as my babci. And when Hunter turned 18, he got the rose tattooed on him. He knew that I hated the smell of roses, and so he would laugh, when a guy would come around and try to impress me by buying me roses, and he would laugh to his friends and go, he doesn't know. He doesn't know her at all. So, he was the one that would go pick me wildflowers and get me tiger lilies because they're my favorite. He took me for walks in the woods and would show me his new turkey calls that he was doing, and show me how well they would work. When he would get the hens to come in, and it wasn't on a hunt, it was just to go for a walk in the woods and to have his mom get to go out and enjoy it with him. I had a pretty big stroke a couple of years ago, and afterwards I wasn't really able to walk well, and I absolutely helpless. And so my son started getting up in the morning and saying, "Let's go, Mom. You gotta go for a walk, Mom. Let's go." And before the end of the summer, I was walking 5 miles a day with him. And he would do exercises with me to strengthen my hand-eye coordination. And he always let me know, no matter what, we'd fight, and he left the house and we'd be mad as hell at each other. He'd walk out the house and he'd be storming off, but before he'd get to that bottom step, he would always turn around and scream, "I still love you, Mom." And I, in my smart-ass mouth, would always say, "I love you too, dickhead." As I said, I've had some real looks given to me over things that people have heard that I've said to my son in our lives. Like, when a teacher called me in first grade, they asked me what was nickname. It was my favorite mistake. But the mistake was his father. But that was my favorite mistake, was sleeping with his father and having him. But the teacher called me and she was like, "What is it that you call your son on a daily basis?" I was like, "Dickhead." And she was like, "No." Oh, shit saying, "No." And she's getting appalled at what I'm saying. But it all has meaning and humor to me and my son. But when she said, "What about your favorite mistake?" I said, "Oh yeah, I have 2 of them. Both my sons." Without those mistakes, I would have never had the blessings that I was given.
Absolutely.
My life wouldn't have changed. And I wouldn't have gotten to see things like I got to see through it. The cloudy, bad days were the days he used to say to me, "These are the good days to go hunting."
Always want to be in the outdoors.
He'd make me get up and go. And he'd give me beautiful things that I was like, "It's so cold and nasty and gross out, and I don't want to be here." And before you know it, we're both wrapped up in staring at some rodents making a nest. And seeing beauty in it. It was seeing things from others' perspective. It was beautiful. My son can always point out that silver lining that you need to make it through the day. I used to tell everybody when I used to go to work in the morning, I had to leave at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm a train wreck when I wake up. I am not like Hunter. I do not like mornings. And I also suffer from major bipolar. So I would get up in the morning and automatically, it's 4 a.m. Who wants to be up at that time? Not me. And I'd look outside and I'm like, "Oh my God, it's snowing." And immediately, "Hunter, help me. Help me." And, "What's the matter, Mom?" "I can't find my keys. I can't find my wallet. The truck's not started. And I'm not even close to being dressed. Help me." And he would immediately get up, go clear off the car. I mean, don't get me wrong. He was definitely griping about, "Really? Really that bad, huh?" It got to the point where my son would find all my belongings at night before he went to bed and would place them strategically so that I would see them as I was walking out the door. There's your keys, there's your shoes, there's your helmet, there's your work gloves. And a little note with a joint rolled up. He used to tell his friends, no one can make a man cry. And nobody can make a man cry as fast as my mother in the morning. And she's the same woman when she's done screaming, yelling, and going bananas. As she's walking up the door, bye, honey, have a great day. Dealing with my mother has taught me what I never want to see in my wife. But like I said, he was the glue. He held it all together. He was a very kind heart, but at the same time, and he would be kind to a fault when it came to himself. People could say things about him, talk about him, and he would not even give it a second thought because he already felt bad about himself. But Lord help you if he heard you put down, talk bad about any of his family, which, as I said before, was his adopted family or blood. You don't talk about the people he loved because that's not right. He didn't like violence. He didn't like people hurting people. He say all the time, you can't hate someone unless you truly loved them at one time. And you can't feel what a real betrayal is until it's been somebody that has been close to your heart that hurts you. And, the fact that the people that he got in the car with, who he thought he was going with to go shoot guns and have fun with, they betrayed him. They acted like they cared. They acted like they were friends. They were just there to get what they could get off my son, and when they were done using him for whatever they could, they disposed of him like he was garbage. And that's the furthest thing from what my son was. He was a beautiful, polished gem.
That's the exact impression I got from this conversation tonight. He was just an incredible person, beautiful soul. And that's not really something you see too much these days.
No. All the lady neighbors around here know Hunter to stop when he sees you trying to carry your coal ashes out, your trash out. Here, let me do that for you. No, put that down. Don't you carry that. What are you doing? Grab the lawnmower and run through somebody's yard quick. Takes him 5 minutes, where it would take the woman down the street 20 minutes. And, they would offer money, and why would you give me money?
Always decline it.
Yeah. He didn't believe that it was something that you should be paid for to just do the right thing. I used to tell him all the time, why would I pay you to clean your own room? It's not yours, sweetheart. You live in it. It's the right thing to do. And I'm not going to pay you to do the right thing. You should just do it. And he did.
I'm not sure what to say. I mean, just learning about him today. Thank you for sharing about him and who he was and who he is as a person.
I appreciate the fact that I got to put out, Hunter and who he was to me, and who he was to the people around me. I don't want him to be lost in all this ugliness, and the fact that he was such a good person. At that funeral, there was groups of small children from the ages of 6 to 13 that were coming up handing me small pieces of paper that said, "Thank you for giving me a big brother. Thank you for making me feel safe." It's just, when I got to see that, it meant so much more than, all the adults that were coming in and saying sorry. Those children let me know that there's a whole other generation that's going to be talking about it. Which let me know that he's not going to be forgotten anytime soon.
I think you did an incredible job tonight talking about him and just allowing us and allowing everyone's going to listen to this just a glimpse into like what an amazing person Hunter was.
Yeah.
And that's a soul that's going to be sorely missed by many.
Yes. I get told all the time, it crushed me, it devastated me. And then, I always get the person who turns around and looks at me and says, I can't even imagine. And, I can't imagine this getting easier or better. And as stated previously, it's just learning to deal with day-to-day activities. Walking the dog. We had a walk that we did every single day with Sparky together. And there's certain spots along the trail that Sparky still every day when we go for a walk goes to every single stop. That Hunter would say, "Come on, boy, get a drink. Hey, boy, go over there and get a stick." I just can't help it. Look up and see my son. Everywhere that I go, I swear that I see something similar, or a shadow, or some sort of feeling that just, it takes my breath away. And it's an everyday thing. I'm grateful for those feelings because I still remember his face. I still remember his smell. But at the same time, it's so painful because I do remember his scent, and I do remember his face, and I do remember everything about my son. But yes, thank you so much again for letting me share a little bit about my son's life.
Absolutely.
I wanted to mention too, I appreciate the opportunity to speak on Hunter because I feel with most murders, like, can you mention the name of one of Ted Bundy's victims? You probably can't, but you know Ted Bundy, right? We get so lost in what the person who did it, and we forget the people that are victims at the end of the day. And I feel like there's so much mention of this happened, that happened, but not the people that led up to it, not this person that walked into the woods that day. I mean, Hunter was an amazing human being, and people who met him are lucky to have met him. I know I'm lucky. I know my daughters feel the same. My family feels the same. And, I mean, that's why my mom invited him on vacation. Like, literally that morning, my one brother decided not to go on our family vacation, and Hunter happened to spend the night, and she looks at him and goes, "You want to go to the beach?" "Yeah." "Better go home and pack your stuff. You have a half hour until the rest of the crew gets here to go." Like, and I don't even remember at the beach, like, my mom would ask him if he wanted something. "No, I'm just happy to be here." "Hunter, it's food. You gotta eat dinner, man. Like, come on." But I appreciate this chance to talk about him.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like I said, we get so lost in all these other details, and we forget who was lost at the end of the day. And I don't want that to happen. Like, and also just to be able to share myself as well, because you said I'm kind of like I have to be as well put together as possible for my kids too, but I don't have a lot of people in my life, and I'm not going to put my stuff on Kate, so this helps me as well to talk about it. And, you know, I love that boy to death, and I will until the day I'm gone. And like I said, we were very fortunate people, but thank you for the opportunity to talk about the positives that the person that Hunter was and the person that Hunter will forever be.
Absolutely. And thank you guys for coming. I know it's definitely not easy to come on and discuss
this is the hardest thing I've ever faced in my life, so I can't even fathom where Kate's at, you know? He wasn't even technically my blood, but I loved him like he was one of my own, you know? He was my oldest son, that's the way I put it.
Well, I'm
You know, I'll miss him, I swear to God, every single day. Like I said, there's good days and bad days, but I still have moments where it dawns on me that aha moment, like, oh God, it's really never going to see him again. Like I said to somebody the one day, you know, I feel like this is like, oh, the next big, like, this is the drama recently that's going on, and then, oh, he's just going to be here one day. But no, it's not at all the case. It's
For next season.
yeah, right. Like but at the same time, I get to wear him around my neck every day, and whenever I have something going on, I hold that along with my collar and my necklace. And I remember the one day there was something I forget what it was. Oh, I was waiting for my ride or something from work, and I'm holding on to my necklace, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm breathing, Hunter, keep you warm. Like, you know, like, it's just, and I talk to him, I do. Like, and I'll kiss my necklace, like every time I walk in this house, I walk into Kate's house, my first thing I have to do is, hold on, I got to say hi to my boy. I go right to where he is. I open up the curio. I say, hey, buddy, touches urn, and I have to say bye before I leave. And, you know, it was so funny the one day because I wasn't close with Jacob right away. I guess Jacob got closer with my other daughter because, you know, Roblox and stuff. But, you know, I'm an adult. It's harder for kids. But I was saying bye to Hunter, and I said, love you, buddy. And Jacob in the background goes, love you too. And I was like, oh, I love you too. And since then, we've said I love you to each other as well. And he's becoming like another child of mine too. And it's just, yeah, what do you do? Like, there's nothing you can do. You can't bring him back. And I know personally I'll always have some type of hole in my heart. And I never realized. Like, I knew I cared about him. I loved him like my own and everything. I told him I loved him, and then I called him son. He called me mom. But I never realized what he truly meant to me. Like, I never grasped how big of an impact he made. And I worry about my daughter now, and that person, she don't have her person anymore. But I have faith that he's going to bring her somebody. I know he will. He's not going to leave her alone. But yes, I appreciate the opportunity to speak about Hunter. I decided to do this for Hunter's sake because I'm Kate asked me to do interviews before, and I'm not a person who likes to go on camera or recording, but I even was still back and forth about it, but I said to my daughter, I was like, if you can go on camera for Jacob and Hunter, then I can do this for Hunter.
We're glad to have you tonight.
Thank you. Definitely appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I need a box of tissues.
Yeah.
Well, unless you guys have anything more, I will let you go tonight.
Okay.
I will be in contact with you as soon as I have this released.
Okay.
So you can listen to it. You can have however you would like, listen to it, share his memory.
Absolutely.
I would say, well, I'm not actually sure what is the name of it, so I can...
Yeah, when we're done, is there any way that you could send me a message on the channel and stuff that we can find you on?
Yeah, absolutely. I can send you something.
Okay. Thank you all so very much.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you. I hope you guys have a good night.
You guys as well.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.